Hey, Bulls and Bears. It is Wednesday, August 18th, 2021. Thank you for being here. And yes, the economy is about to go from bad to worse, and we're going to show you the evidence of that here today. First, real quick, before we get started, please make sure that you like this video and subscribe. Make sure that you are subscribed if you like our nearly everyday updates. Thank you very much. That would really help us out. Let's get into the news. And first of all, let's distinguish between the economy, which we should look at the economy as the purchasing power or the well-being, the financial well-being of most American people, especially the middle class, which used to make up the majority of Americans, but that has been shrinking and shrinking. The middle class has been shrinking and shrinking. And we see more people being pushed into poverty and living paycheck to paycheck, especially if you look at over the past few decades. But yes, some people will still say, no, look at the stock market, look at home prices, the economy's doing well. And sure, a high stock market, rising home prices may be very good for some people, especially people that buy low and sell high. So if you bought a home 5, 10 years ago and you sold here this year, you're doing great, you cashed out. But what about the people that are not selling? What about the people that just have gains on paper, but yet they have to pay now higher taxes, higher cost of living? You see inflation and the cost of repairs, the cost of materials for home repairs, the cost of putting on a new roof, the cost of insurance. You see all these things going up, all these prices going up. So are you better off if you're not selling? Well, many would agree that you're not. So again, yeah, rising prices don't necessarily mean that the economy is doing good. It just means that there's more debt being pumped into the system. And it's pretty consistent that we see debt increase, the Fed balance sheet increase, at the same time as we see these economic booms. And these market booms, which lead to bubbles, and bubbles that just get bigger and bigger and bigger until if and when the support gets pulled away. You see, when the Fed balance sheet actually starts shrinking, when you actually see real tapering, and I'm not talking about just decreasing the bond purchases, I'm talking about stopping the bond purchases, stopping the purchases of mortgage-backed securities, you would see an epic meltdown in the markets. The housing market, the stock market, you name it. Corporate debt defaults galore. But what the Fed is calling tapering is just lowering or lessening the purchases and the support of the market. They're not talking about stopping completely, right? So understand that even when the Fed says taper, they're really not stopping the support, the market support. They're actually just cutting back on some of the support, which I find hard to believe that they'll even taper a little bit. We'll have to see who's right on that, but historically, we've called it pretty accurately here over the years that the Fed's just going to keep increasing and increasing the support of the markets. All right, but now that that's out there, and I know most of you know that, but there's still a lot of new people here joining and viewers that just find us for the first time that still don't understand that the stock market is not the economy, that the housing market is not the economy. We have 25% unemployment now when you look at the real unemployment number. Right, is that a good sign? No, that's near Great Depression levels. And also, let's look at all the assistance being handed out to people. You would think if the economy was so good, we would be pulling back on some of the assistance. We would be able to end some of these assistance programs and the debt forgiveness, the rent forgiveness, the loan forgiveness, etc., and the freezing of all these payments and less payouts for, let's say, food assistance. Let's take a look at this recent report here. And this is out of Bloomberg. The biggest permanent boost to food stamp benefits. This is the biggest ever boost to food stamp benefits. So instead of decreasing the assistance and the payouts to people, the average benefit to rise more than 25% from pre-pandemic levels. So here we are in this period, this era right now that's being called an amazing economic recovery, one of the best recoveries ever, or one of the fastest recoveries ever. But yet we still need to increase these payouts, the biggest permanent boost to these food benefits. 25%, the biggest increase. All right, so what is it? Is it a recovery? Or is it people are getting financially worse off? Worse now than even prior to the pandemic? Is it just the rising prices that gives the need for this increase? Is it just this people are more broke? Is it both? I think it's likely both. Next, let's take a look at this ABC News article. Some people making 100,000 or more say the benchmark for financial success has shifted. And I mentioned this before. I know a good guy, good friend of mine here in California makes 100,000, more than 100,000 a year, but still rents. He's afraid to buy a home, even making 100 plus K per year. So yes, it has shifted. When you look at the rising prices, even people that used to be considered well off are really not that confident in their ability to buy and afford a home, to maintain a home. So it's getting to the point here in many areas, especially here in California, where you have to have two incomes of 100K to be able to afford a decent sized home. All right, now if you're making 100K and you bought maybe 3, 4, 5 years ago, you might be in a better spot right now. But a lot of people looking to buy a home right now, even 100K earners, are very, very sketchy and afraid of putting their foot into that in that water right now. Now let's talk about retail sales, which historically has been a gauge of the economy, or at least a gauge that's been used to judge the economy, which I think it shouldn't be used, because people racking up debt and spending stimulus checks really should not be viewed as economic growth, but that's what the powers that be like to point at. So let's talk about it here. Here's a chart here that shows the surge in spending. This is the adjusted retail and food services sales data. And it shows you the big spikes after stimulus checks here. And you see the arrows in the green pointing to these. And then you see the arrows in the blue point to the big drops between stimulus checks. Well, we're about ready to see another huge drop, since it's been many, many months since we've had the last stimulus check. And you see the big drop, the big red here to the far right. We'll have to keep an eye on it. But it typically follows the consumer sentiment index, as you see in the blue line right there. That's the University of Michigan Consumer Sentiment Index. And how pitiful is it that the consumer sentiment drops and increases along with stimulus checks? All right, so again, you follow the blue line here, you'll see it increase during the times of stimulus checks typically, and then decrease a few months after the stimulus checks are sent out, in between stimulus checks. Right, so even people that are surveyed here, as far as this confidence survey, are telling you that it's stimulus checks as what is giving them confidence. Should it be like that? Should just stimulus checks be something that makes the economy strong and gives people confidence? Or should we actually have manufacturing, production, good paying jobs? Should we be exporting things that we make here in the US instead of being a net importer, instead of being a consumer nation? Yes, I think so. But is that happening? Are we making a transition to the better direction? No, it's getting worse, and it's going to continue to get worse. Sure, the stimulus checks may make it look better for a while, but where's this all going to end? You let me know, but it doesn't look good. It looks like things are going to go from bad to worse in this economy, even as the markets keep rising. Let me know what you think down in the comments. I'd like to hear from you, everybody. Thank you for being here for this report. Stay well, stay safe, keep stacking, stay prepared. Bye for now, everybody. Peace.